I stopped talking to him years ago because I knew he was doing drugs. I knew he was gay. I knew he was going to be SM club.
I thought I was gay. I watched gay porn.
Andrew Tate just released an entire video focused on his former ally, trying to suggest that he's gay and using that idea as an insult, and it may be one of the biggest signs yet that he's losing control of the public narrative. What started as a few subtle digs slowly turned into open mockery, and now it's grown into a full video built around the same accusation. The surprising part is that the moment the video spread online, many viewers felt it had the opposite effect and ended up creating even more criticism instead of support.
2 years ago, there was a streamer, I think everybody knows who I'm talking about, who was obsessed with me. If I got a girl's number on Fresh and Fit, he tried to do the same thing. Every single thing I did, he copied verbatim. He tried to be me, literally be me. He was obsessed with me. And I thought he just wanted to be famous, and that turned out to be a homosexual obsession.
To really understand why this situation exploded, you have to go back to where their partnership first started. There was a time when Tate and Sneako were almost impossible to separate. They pushed very similar messages about masculinity, discipline, self-improvement, and challenging the system. They appeared together often, praised each other publicly, and constantly helped grow one another's audiences. To many followers, they looked like two creators moving toward the same goals. But that version of their relationship is completely gone now, and the fallout has become one of the most talked about feuds in their online circle. One moment from the video especially caught people's attention because of how the argument was presented. Instead of staying focused on disagreements or different opinions, the conversation shifted toward personal accusations.
Telling me that he had this cuck thing that was exposed. He had this big cuck scandal, and he asked me what I think about cucking and if it's normal to explore your sexuality and if I've ever tried it. And I said, look, I'm older than you, bro, and I've never tried that. I don't think that's normal.
Critics pointed out how unrelated topics were grouped together as if they were supposed to automatically damage someone's reputation. That's where many viewers felt the discussion stopped being about ideas and started becoming about attacking someone's image instead. Once a debate moves away from facts and into personal territory, the entire conversation can take on a very different tone. In this kind of online environment, questioning someone's masculinity or making claims about their private life can become a strategy instead of an actual argument. The goal often isn't simply to insult someone. It's to make the audience question everything else that person says without directly addressing their opinions or evidence.
I know what he's going to bring up. I already know what the tactic is to be. These people are easy to read. I didn't want to address it on stream. I'm going to address it before it happens. Maybe people will clip it up. What he's going to do, he's going to bring up clips from a podcast from like 5-6 years ago where I was a stand-up comedian at the time, and we were joking, and on streams joking about.
Rather than debating the real issues, the focus shifts toward creating doubt about the person's credibility. That's why these kinds of accusations usually attract so much attention, even when they don't answer the original disagreement. Tate didn't stop after making one passing comment either. He expanded on the accusation and built an entire story around it, giving it far more attention than many people expected. Suggesting that someone who once followed your business advice was secretly obsessed with you isn't presented as proof of anything. Instead, it comes across as a dramatic personal claim designed to grab headlines, spark reactions, and keep people talking.
Since then, he has mentioned me every single day in every single stream he does. Andrew Tate wore a gambling t-shirt. Andrew Tate drove a car. Andrew Tate drunk coffee. Andrew Tate this. Andrew Tate that. He is obsessed with me. And if you see the way he talks about me, you can see in his eyes. It's not because he is morally superior. It's not because he just wants clicks. It's a homosexual rage which is suppressed.
Whether viewers believed it or not, it quickly became one of the biggest talking points surrounding the video. Whether that private conversation happened exactly the way Tate described it remains something viewers can only judge based on the public claims from both sides. But repeating alleged private conversations in front of millions of people changes the focus completely. Instead of discussing the original disagreement, attention shifts towards someone's personal life. Many observers felt that looked less like a debate over principles and more like using alleged private information as leverage during a public feud. That approach naturally created even more discussion across social media. Sneako, however, appeared to recognize what was coming before the video was even released. He addressed the situation ahead of time and spoke about what he expected Tate would say. Predicting your opponent's next move before it happens doesn't usually look like someone who's caught off guard. Instead, it can make it seem like someone who's already familiar with the same strategy because they've watched it happen before. That changed the conversation before Tate's video even had the chance to fully shape it. Then, once the video was finally public, Sneako didn't avoid the claims or pretend they didn't exist. He responded directly in his own words instead of letting the accusations spread without any reply.
What he might even do is go further and talk about people in my personal life, which is completely crossed the line. And see, time and time again, it's the people that are closest to you that you have defended the most. People that I've went to back and forth with moist criticals because I was defending people that I thought were my friends.
That's an important difference, because addressing an old story yourself can take away much of the impact another person hopes to get by bringing it up first. Whether people agreed with his response or not, many felt it prevented the accusations from becoming the only version of events circulating online. Even after that response, Tate didn't appear ready to move on. If anything, the calm reaction seemed to be followed by even more public criticism instead of ending the dispute. To many viewers, that didn't necessarily come across as complete confidence. Some interpreted it as frustration that the original attack didn't produce the reaction he may have expected, leading to even more back and forth between both sides. As the feud continued growing, another issue also remained in the background. Critics have pointed to past occasions where Tate discouraged his audience from using certain platforms.
Of course, this is happening, one, when I'm very critical of the war in Iran, and two, because I recently blew up a lot. The Jang streams are getting a lot of popularity because I'm bringing a lot of people on and I'm starting to make a real difference.
Only to later appear on those same platforms when they became useful to him. That history has led some observers to question how consistent his message really is, adding another layer of controversy to an already messy public battle. Sneako didn't let that point slide either. He brought up what he saw as hypocrisy directly, arguing that actions matter just as much as words. Once people stop accepting everything at face value and begin comparing old statements with current behavior, the conversation changes completely. At that point, it's no longer about who delivers the loudest insult. It's about whether someone's record matches the image they're trying to project. That's a much tougher challenge to overcome than winning a single argument online. Another reason many viewers reacted differently to Sneako's response was that he also acknowledged his own mistakes instead of pretending they never happened. Whether people agreed with him or not, some felt that approach came across as more open than simply attacking the other side. Owning your past doesn't automatically erase criticism, but it can make it harder for someone else to use the same story against you later. That difference stood out throughout the entire exchange. Sneako also claimed that Tate had shown support privately before criticizing him publicly afterward. If that version of events is accurate, it paints a very different picture of how their friendship ended.
He's Muslim LARPing, he's Islam LARPing, constantly LARPing about Islam while being gay in private and taking drugs in private, as opposed to me, who keeps my faith private and my internet. He keeps his faith on the internet and in his private life is completely haram. So we can discuss which one of us is the real Muslim if we want to have that conversation.
Pointing out that someone shook your hand, promised loyalty, and then publicly turned against you isn't necessarily dramatic. It's a claim about consistency, and consistency is something audiences pay close attention to. Whether viewers believed that account or not, it became another major part of the debate. Then there's the timing, and that's something plenty of people noticed. Public disputes often seem to explode right when former allies stop helping each other and start competing for the same audience. That naturally leads some viewers to wonder whether the disagreement is only about personal issues or whether influence and competition also play a role. Whatever the answer is, the timing added another layer to an already heated situation. Religion also became part of the discussion because both men publicly identify as Muslim. Sneako's journey has been very public, including moments where he's openly admitted making mistakes. Even with those setbacks, some viewers still see his approach as genuine because he hasn't hidden every flaw. Tate, meanwhile, has faced criticism from some people who argue that faith has become a larger part of his public image and branding. That's ultimately something viewers interpret for themselves, but it became another topic fueling the debate. As the argument continued, Tate reportedly challenged Sneako to a boxing match with real money involved. A fight immediately changes the conversation because it shifts attention away from the original disagreement and toward entertainment. That's a format Tate has always been comfortable with, turning conflict into a major event. Sneako declined the challenge, saying he believed it looked more like a publicity move than a genuine attempt to settle anything. By this point, many people noticed that the original issues weren't really being debated anymore. Instead, the focus became whether either creator still held the same level of influence they once had. That may actually be the biggest story underneath all the headlines. The online world that helped both of them grow has changed dramatically over the past few years. There was a time when shocking statements alone could dominate every conversation. Today, audiences are much quicker to question motives, compare old clips, and look for inconsistencies before deciding who they believe. That shift changes everything. Strategies that once looked bold can start looking defensive when repeated too often. As the accusations become more personal, some viewers begin paying less attention to the claims themselves and more attention to why they're being repeated. Meanwhile, Sneako's emotional and sometimes unpredictable style has ended up helping him with part of his audience. He often speaks quickly, reacts in the moment, and doesn't always appear perfectly polished. Oddly enough, some viewers interpret that roughness as authenticity rather than weakness. Of course, neither side walks away without criticism. Even if Tate convinces some people, it doesn't automatically answer questions critics continue to raise about consistency. On the other hand, even if Sneako gains support, that doesn't place him above criticism either. Both creators still have supporters and critics, and both continue to face tough questions from different audiences. One thing many viewers did notice, though, was how often the same accusation kept coming back throughout the video. Repeating the same point again and again doesn't necessarily make it stronger. For some people, it can have the opposite effect and make it seem like there aren't many new arguments left to make. That's why the discussion eventually became less about the accusation itself and more about what it revealed regarding the larger power shift between the two. The reality is that their relationship has completely changed. There was a time when Tate stood at the center of that online circle while Sneako regularly amplified his message. That dynamic doesn't exist anymore. Today they're operating independently, building separate audiences, and following completely different paths. Whether one person repeats the same accusation another time or not doesn't change that bigger picture. If anything, it highlights just how much things have shifted. At the end of the day, this feud isn't simply about one accusation. It's about influence, credibility, and what happens when old strategies stop getting the same results they once did. The bigger question now is who can actually keep the audience's trust as the online landscape continues to change. That's the debate many viewers seem far more interested in following. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like the video, subscribe for more, share it with your friends, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Which side do you think made the stronger case? We'd love to hear your opinion. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.